Hi, my name is Gerald Chambers. I'm a marriage and family therapist. And tonight I want to talk about the myth that batterers can't control their anger. Battering is usually voluntary, like other types of behavior. There are some batterers, a few, whose rampages are impulsive and uncontrollable, at least in the beginning. In most cases, battering is a choice, like most other behaviors are choices. Now, remember we talked about cobras in one of my other videos, but cobras are those criminal types. Their physiology is such that when they're in conflict, blood pressure and heart rate reduce, and they're probably focusing in to strike to improve the effectiveness of their violence. Remember, they're practicing mind over matter. I don't mind, you don't matter. It would appear that cobras are not only in control, but they're under control so they can be extremely effective. But even the pit bull type, this hero type batterer that never got in trouble with the law, upstanding citizen, they still choose to strike a woman. So there's some sense that they have some control. Some people, is because they're anxious, they experience a altered state during an episode. In extreme cases, they might not even remember what went on. It brings up this whole question of disassociation or dissociative states. And although they might say they're out of control, they're not really in a dissociative state. They remember the episodes, but they use that phrase, lost control, to minimize their behavior and to kind of avoid taking responsibility for it. Many of the men are just lying, and that's another form of exerting control over the victim. And most of the episodes, the guys I meet, the guys I work with, most of their episodes, they might have been acting impulsively, they might have been angry, but they weren't necessarily out of control. The interesting thing about this, though, about battering behavior, is that a man has to have a sense of control over his emotions in order to batter a woman, because this behavior doesn't come out on the first date or when you first meet someone. It comes out later, so there's some sense of control. And angry guys are not acting angry when, a lot of angry guys are not acting angry when the police pull them over or when they have other situations that require that they control their anger. Their anger is focused. Batterer's anger is focused in on, that pit bull, his anger is focused in on his wife. And the cobra is fighting inside and outside, but he's not really angry. He just likes fighting and can control himself and really lash out at others. What batterers can't control, though, is the consequences of their anger. That's the thing that I'm trying to impress upon the guys that I work with. I ask them a question. When did this incident occur? The incident that brought you to this group? And they'll say like 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, long time. And I say to them, and we talk about the fact that you can be angry at someone at 9 o'clock, not angry at them at 9:05, and paying the consequences for your anger for a lifetime. So there's a sense that once they get angry, they can't control what happens. And I think to a certain degree, that's what they're talking about. They were out of control. They didn't really want, they didn't mind getting angry, but they didn't really want the consequences. That's what they felt like. That's a part of what I think they're talking about when they say they're out of control. And some guys do. Some people do have an exaggerated threat response, where they just go over the top at the slightest provocation because, of something that happened previously. Now that brings it into question as to whether or not they can really control it or not. That's a part of PTSD. And so, no matter what I think I know about it, I'm always surprised by different things that show up when I'm working with guys, different problems that they have. And then the other thing that many men can't control when it comes down to anger is what they tell themselves when they feel offended, when something happens. You got two problems. You got the event, and then you have what you think about the event. And many of the men I work with have no control over the narrative that they tell themselves that leads them into being more angry, that increases their angry feelings. And when batterers feel uncomfortable emotionally, a lot of times they'll use violence to try to destroy whatever it is they think is making them upset. And so when that's their partner, they'll go after her. They see her as being less powerful. They view her as defective a lot of times, what they tell themselves, and then that she disrespected me or she's preventing me from getting something that I want or having something that I want, and they'll use violence on her. So that's the part that they can't control, the narrative in their head. So it's a little bit of both. They can control themselves because battering is a choice, but then they can't really control the narrative that they tell themselves that can often lead to lead to violence, lead to anger. If she's 5 minutes late, what does that mean? Well, many of the guys, they think, well, she's out having an affair. Right? She could have been stuck in traffic. She could have stopped at the grocery store. So those kinds of thoughts. And batterers have a lot more negative thoughts about their partners than just regular guys, regular partners, I think. So anyway, if you like this video, or if you don't like the video, tear me up in the comments. Hit the like button. Thanks for listening.